Welcome to the Halloween episode of the Starshine Magazine podcast. Today my guest is Devon Dotson, the writer and director of the new horror film Be Our Guests, which is a new horror film about 6 friends who go to a bed and breakfast that doesn't turn out to be exactly the fun getaway that they had in mind. Devon is not only a writer and director, but he's also a music producer, and he's gotten his songs placed on MTV and Netflix, and he is the CEO of Night Vision Entertainment, which not only has its music production, but now its film division. Devon and I we've known about each other for a really long time through our mutual friend Mandy, who is also someone we both work with. So Devon and I are, friends on social media, but we've never actually spoken before this interview. So it's kind of nice that we finally got to do that. So how are you today?
I am amazing. I'm excited.
I'm very excited to finally be talking to you. We've known of each other for a while.
For some time, yes.
Yeah.
Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, you too. And before we get into Be Our Guests, you're not only a filmmaker, but also a music producer. Can you tell us a little bit about your backstory?
Yes, I actually started out with music as a young kid back home in Chicago. I've played music all my life, tons of instruments from drums to guitars, piano, violin, you name it. Pretty much everything except horns. Fell into the production side of things. I just love to create and write. So I started doing that in the early 2000s. Fast forward to like 2010, I really took the label to another level. I brought on some talents and things like that. I've been involved with over 400 music placements in the last 5 years.
Wow.
From everything from The Voice to Tyler Tierra's Dance Mom, Steve Harvey Show, any of these shows that you probably watch on a regular basis or flip through the channels, I probably have something musically to do with it.
That's awesome. And I mean, obviously you're a self-starter, and, was it hard to break in the industry for you, or did it just feel natural?
It was kind of hard because I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot of talented people out there. However, I look at the talent of people. It's almost like a rush hour traffic, if you will. And my goal was to figure out, how do I make it into the carpool lane, because everybody wants their turn to get through, and at least show their demo or their talents and things like that. So many people in that time frame, these were still pretty relevant. In that time frame, people would actually go to the Beyonce concerts, Jay-Z concerts, or Christina Aguilera concerts with their CDs, hoping to actually get their music listened to by their A&R or their manager, or if they could hand in something physically. So at that time, I was thinking it's probably a better idea to go the publishing route through film, TV, and commercials and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So as I built my way that way, now when I go to approach artists or things like that, they see my resume and say, hey, this guy does a lot of work for MTV or BET or VH1 or NBC and so on and so forth. He has to have a level of quality to even be considered on that. I've been nominated for Grammys and things like that. So it's a good thing. And that was the way that I actually kind of found myself in a carpool lane, if you will. I found my own little way. A lot of people think to just one flight of stairs is the only way that you can access your dreams. Actually, sometimes it's another way. Sometimes someone may want to be an aspiring actress or actor, and they may have to start the route with singing or maybe modeling first, just to get that door to open up on another level.
So I'm guessing that was was your introduction to film as well.
Yes, kind of. There was a movie, How I Got Into Film. I honestly thought I was going to do film and scoring and things like that on the music side of things um, way later, like 60, 70 years old. I don't know why I thought that. It was just a weird thought, but that you have to be this certain kind of musician to just be there, and it wasn't like that. There was a gentleman I was working with overseas, and he had a film that really was shot well, the look of it,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but the sound wasn't the best. And I said, hey, just give me a shot at doing your trailer over sonically. And I did that. And when I did that, doors opened up left and right. I mean, he had it picked up on Redbox, all these countries overseas, and Amazon and things like that. And the beauty of it all is, I realized, like, I'm a writer, so I realized that I love to write and I can tell these stories. And I realized, like, man, his writing wasn't nothing special. And I realized that I so much relies on sound. I was told that you can visually see something unattractive, but if the sound is unattractive in the theater, you're turned off.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, you can close your eyes and hear something and still get scared and still fall in love or whatever that scene may be. But if you turn the sound off and have the same effect visually, it doesn't mean really the same. So I realized how much sound plays a part. And it's about 75 to 80% of a film is dependent on sound and lighting, other than obviously acting and things like that. Um, so when I did that, I realized that, hey, I can do this. It's just like writing a long song. So I uh,
Right.
I actually find it easier to write a film. In this case, this particular film that I will get into, but it only took me about a week, if that, to write it. And the thing is, because it's harder to write a really good song. I'm not just talking about something that people just kind of throw out. I'm talking about a song that can stand the test of times. That's,
Mm-hmm.
the, it's really hard because you got 3 minutes to cram everything in to get the whole story across and
Right.
evoke the emotion and the feeling out of it in 3 minutes. So here I have an hour and a half or plus, and I have plenty of time to elaborate on things and develop characters and things like that. So it's amazing.
Yeah, I definitely feel you with that. That's why I writing short stories. I'm a novelist, but writing a short story is so hard for me because I need that extra space to just be able to
Exactly.
develop everything.
Exactly. I totally get you.
So now that brings us to Be Our Guests. What can you tell us about this film?
Be our guest. I I had this idea uh, when I was overseas. I was doing some work out in Denmark, Copenhagen area, and I was flying over to London. And then when I came back to Denmark, all the hotels were booked for some EDM event that was going on, and I was like, oh man. So someone told me, hey, why don't you rent an Airbnb? And I was like, what the heck is that? I don't even know what this is. So I love the concept, and I was like, this is cool. And I was like, later down the line, I was thinking, what if someone had somewhat like an Airbnb without saying Airbnb? That's why we called it Be Our Guest. It's they rented these properties, but were weird, if you will. so, so that was pretty much the birthplace of it. I like clever films and cleverly written things, and I like a good scare. I always like scary movies, horror movies. So uh, this film has something that can people can relate to, as if they grew up with the '80s cult classic culture of horror movies like Halloween's, the Friday the 13th, and things like that. But it's also new because it's based off of today's time with, you know, um, social media and with the technology and the Be Our Guest kind of features. So it's really cool. It's about six college students, three couples. They are finishing, you know, junior year of college, summer break, and they rent out a 40-acre, bread and breakfast building called Be Our Guest, and they throw a massive party. We have some great performers in there, dancers, influencers in the film, and um, yeah, after the lights go out, it really happens. So,
It's a whole different story.
yeah, so in these college kids, they have to uh, figure it out to stay alive, and it's a it's not too typical, but it's a really, I don't want to give it away, but it's really really good, and then to keep you on your feet. But there's some parts that you won't even think you're watching a horror thriller movie. It's just because you're just captivated by the actors and their character, and they're just somebody's uh, aspiring musician, artist, rapper, and he's in the studio, and you just kind of like, hey, I can relate to this guy. Or there's the ballet dancer, the dancer that's trying to get the scholarship, that someone can relate to that. And there's the guy that's the rich kid but want to do it for himself, working at the auto show. It's just a lot, a little bit that we can all kind of gravitate to a character. Yeah, we'll feel like we're running for our lives later.
Right.
So, yeah.
You get sucked into the characters, and then can't get too attached.
Yeah. Exactly, and it's an amazing soundtrack. It's an amazing score. It's today, it's current, so it's not like what you would typically hear in a horror film, where you just kind of hear that kind of weird 80s kind of sense. Nothing against that, but it's today. Right. So if you heard the music of the soundtrack, you like, man, if it was like Cardi B and Lil Wayne and Drake and that type of feel, and those same types of current top 40 sounds on the radio is what you get in this film.
Awesome. So, and when you make a horror film, does it kind of like haunt you? Like I'm always afraid if I write anything supernatural, I'm like, this is what I'm going to dream about for the next few weeks.
No, I not really. It's, I guess for me, it's because I'm dealing with it so much, it's not even scary to me. However, there has been one time I was asleep and I had this dream, and it was so weird and real feeling that I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to put that in the film. And I did. So it was like a motivate. I used it, for me, but then other than that, it's not a really big deal for me. However, I have a pretty large house, so I had the sound going, like doing its bouncing down, where it's just kind of rendering. Mm-hmm. And I had the volume up, so I was minding my business, and I just hear this weird sound that freaked me out, and I forgot it was my music going on for the film. But yeah, other than that, it's not that bad. I just, once I'm done with it, I'm just kind of on to the next one, and I pretty much started in the horror thriller genre because it's a safe area for newcoming directors and film writers to dive into, just because when you get into an action movie or a drama, or certain genres of film, the audience expect to see, okay, The Rock or Kevin Hart, or someone like that in certain type of films, where in a horror movie people don't expect that at all.
Yeah, I find that horror fans are very open to all kinds of quality movies, all kind, like,
oh my gosh, yes.
They will, even if it's like the campiest movie, there'll be an audience for it because they just love that like aspect of it.
They are faithful too. And they are very faithful. I remember waking up in the middle of the night, and you could find like zombie dogs for outer space, and I'm like, what the heck, who did this? Like, and it's just like something like that, but there's a following for it. Somebody picked it up. That means somebody's watching it, you know.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's a definitely a I think we all some way somehow like that adrenaline rush, and I think a horror movie kind of gives you that in a way that, like, oh my gosh, this is creepy. Could this be real? Or, you know, that kind of effect to us, and it kind of plays a little trick on our mind. And I think some way as people we have like a love-hate relationship with it. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what it is about us. We're like, we like to be scared and tortured mentally
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
something.
Something. So we're a little bit off somehow, I guess.
This episode is all about Halloween. This is our Halloween episode. So, what would you say your top 5 favorite horror movies are?
Ooh, man. Top 5. Well, I love Halloween. I think Halloween is the scariest for me, especially just because when I was a kid, we had this old organ in our house, uh,
Oh,
and I would have to empty out the trash, and I forget to take it during the daytime. But as soon as I watch the movie, it's dark, and my mom's like, "Hey, Gary, take out the trash," blah blah blah, and the little piano riff plays in my head, and as it plays in my head, my sister would get on the organ and go doo 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 doo, and I was like, the only song she ever played and knew, but it was just that song. So it freaked me out because as a kid, your mind's like, something's looking at me over the fence, and it's a bird or it's an owl or it's nothing, you know. So I will give it to Halloween as number 1. Uh, yeah, I like the Friday the 13th, the early,
mm-hmm.
the earlier ones. Once we went to Jason Goes to Space, I was kind of
Yeah, I can't say that I watched a lot of those movies. I watched like the first couple, and my the only reason I watched them when I was a kid is because my sister told me that Corey Haim played Jason.
yeah. Ah,
I just thought Jason was Corey Haim the whole time with a hockey mask on,
classic.
even though he was a tiny person and Jason was not tiny.
Yeah, yeah,
But I was 5 and it didn't make sense, so it's okay.
that's classic. Yeah, I would say number 3. I didn't see the new It, but the one before, like I think like last year or 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I like the remake of It. I think they did a great job. I thought that was funny and very scary parts as well, that jump scares and things like that. I thought that was pretty good. Um, I like Nightmare on Elm Street, but To Die by Freddy, you're gonna get a laugh. So it's like he's a comedic, kind of guy with his kill. So he's in the top 5. And I think I got that's 3. I will go with 4. I think something current like the first Conjuring. I can roll with that. I like
First
that.
Conjuring. Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. All good choices. My ultimate favorite is Scream. I find it's not it's one of the only horror movies I can watch by myself, no matter what time of night it is, and not be scared because I know it so well.
That is amazing. You know what the cool thing is? The movie Scream, the movie Be Our Guest has elements of Scream in it. Has that young feel, and it's like when people ask me to describe it, I tell them it's like Halloween meets Scream and meets what is the other movie? The Strangers.
Okay,
Merge all those together, and you got Be Our Guest.
awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing it, and now it comes out October 25th.
October 25th.
All right, so that's tomorrow.
Amazon Prime, October 25th.
All right, and where can we see it?
Amazon Prime is going to be one of our main outlets. It could be over 100 countries around the world. We will have it on Roku and other couple of outlets as well. But Amazon Prime, if you got Amazon Prime, you can see it there. Rent it, purchase it, however you want to do it. Just enjoy the movie. It'll be available. Perfect timing for Halloween.
Yes, perfect. I love to make like a list of movies that I'm just gonna binge like Halloween weekend or whatever, you know. So it'll definitely be on my list.
Good deal. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for talking with me today.
It is my pleasure.
All right, and make sure everyone goes see Be Our Guests.
Yeah, be our guest, and you can get more information as it comes with some of the bloopers and behind the scenes at nightvisionentertainment.com. That's NITEVISIONENT.com.